Considering how much I love mathematical brain teasers and logic puzzles, it's probably not surprising that I love detective stories too. There's something appealing about watching a logic maven like Sherlock Holmes use his skills to take down bad guys. And one of my all-time favorite fictional detectives is Lieutenant Columbo, who was played by actor Peter Falk in a 1970s television show. The show had an unusual format. In a normal detective story, a crime is committed, and the viewer or reader tries to determine the guilty person before the detective reveals the solution at the end. With Columbo, the situation was reversed. The viewer knew the guilty party right from the start and also knew every detail of how the crime was committed. The fun was watching Columbo unravel the intricate plans of the killer, ultimately bringing him or her to justice. Early in one of the episodes, the killer challenges Columbo with a mathematical puzzle. Columbo solves the puzzle near the end of the episode, just before explaining how he knew that the puzzle's presenter was actually the killer. The puzzle made a big impression on me when I saw it as a kid. Since this will be our final lesson for the course, I'd like to open our discussion by sharing it with you. So here's Columbo's puzzle in a slightly varied form. Let's say you have 5 stacks of 5 identical-looking coins. 4 of the stacks consist entirely of genuine coins, each of which weighs 1 ounce. The other stack consists entirely of counterfeit coins, each of which weigh 1.1 ounces. You're given a scale that will tell you the weight of any object placed upon it. You're allowed to use the scale just once, after which you must identify the stack with the counterfeit coins. Of course, we'll assume that you're not sensitive enough to detect the difference in weight just by holding the coins in your hands. So there's your challenge. How can you find the counterfeit coins just by using the scale once? As I said, this puzzle made a big impression on me. I just couldn't see any way it could be done. It's one of those puzzles where, until you see how to do it, you think that you must have heard the problem wrong. I remember watching the entire 90-minute episode just waiting for the solution. As I got farther and farther into it with no solution being presented, I began to despair that the writers had simply forgotten to include it. Fortunately, that wasn't the case. If you want to try this yourself, then you should pause the video here. Let's see how this might be done. Of course, you could just weigh 1 coin from 1 stack and hope you get lucky, but that's not really in the spirit of things. We want to know for certain. The trick is to take 1 coin from the first stack, 2 coins from the second stack, 3 coins from the third stack, 4 coins from the fourth stack, and then all of the coins from the last stack. Put all 15 coins on the scale and see what it says. If the first stack contained the counterfeits, then the reading will be 15.1 ounces. If the second stack contained the counterfeits, then the reading will be 15.2 ounces, and so on. The reading will be 15.x ounces, where x is some number between 1 and 5. The numerical value of x is the number of the pile with the counterfeits. Very neat. Actually, that's not the only time I found a cool puzzle in a piece of pop culture. In the movie Die Hard with a Vengeance, Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson find themselves trying to defuse a bomb that had been placed in a park by the movie's villain. Our heroes are standing next to a large fountain. They have a 5-gallon jug and a 3-gallon jug. The villain tells them that to defuse the bomb, they have to fill the 5-gallon jug with exactly 4 gallons of water and then place it on a scale attached to the bomb. But if they're off by even a little bit, then the bomb will explode. So no fair just estimating the right amount. So can it be done? Or should the good guys just have evacuated the park as quickly as possible? Puzzles of this sort are quite well known. It has some similarities to the hourglass puzzle we considered all the way back in Lesson 1. Pause the video here to give it a try. Any luck? Well, here's one way to measure 4 gallons of water with a 5-gallon jug and a 3-gallon jug. First, you fill the 5-gallon jug all the way to the top. You then pour 3 of these 5 gallons into the 3-gallon jug, filling it all the way to the top. Those 3 gallons are then discarded. There are still 2 gallons of water in the 5-gallon jug. So now these 2 gallons are then poured into the 3-gallon jug. Note that this implies there is 1 gallon of empty space in the 3-gallon jug. We now fill the 5-gallon jug all the way to the top once again. We pour out one of these 5 gallons into the 3-gallon jug, once more filling the 3-gallon jug all the way to the top. This leaves exactly 4 gallons of water in the 5-gallon jug. Success! Puzzles of this sort are sometimes referred to as algorithmic puzzles. They're a bit different from most of the puzzles we've seen to this point. Rather than calculate a number or deduce the consequences of given information, we're being asked to devise an algorithm, which is to say a procedure for how to solve a given problem. The term algorithm comes from computer science. When programmers write code to carry out certain tasks, they must first have a precisely defined algorithm in mind so they can tell the computer what to do. With the rise of computers as an indispensable tool since the 1970s, the study of algorithms has become an important area of research for computer scientists and mathematicians. And if we've learned anything from this course, it's that puzzles are always an appropriate tool for learning about an area of mathematics. I would later learn that the puzzle I saw in Columbo is one of a whole genre of so-called coin-weighing puzzles. Here's another famous one. This time we have 8 coins, one of which is counterfeit and therefore slightly heavier than the others. We're also given a balance scale. You know, the kind with 2 pans, where you put some items on each pan to see if they balance. The problem is to determine which is the counterfeit coin using the scale the smallest possible number of times. How many times do you need to use the scale to get the job done? Pause the video and see what you come up with. Did you figure out how to find the counterfeit coin? Most people argue that since we start with 8 coins, we'll need to use the scale 3 times. First, we put 4 coins on each pan. The counterfeit coin is then on the heavier side. We then break those 4 coins into 2 groups of 2 and use the scale a second time. Once again, the counterfeit coin is on the heavier side. Finally, we weigh the 2 remaining coins against each other, and then we'll have our answer. It's a very nice solution. But what I really love about this puzzle is that, surprisingly, it's actually possible to find the counterfeit coin by using the scale just twice. Here's how it's done. Instead of starting with 4 coins on each side, you start with 3. In other words, pick any 6 of the 8 coins and weigh any 3 against the other 3. If the pans balance, then we know the counterfeit coin is among the other 2. We'll use our second weighing to compare those 2 coins, and then we'll have our answer. But if the pans don't balance, then the heavier side contains the counterfeit. We then take any 2 of those 3 coins and compare them on the balance. If one side is heavier, then it contains the counterfeit coin. But if the pans balance, then the coin that was left off the scale is the counterfeit. Isn't that great? I just love that solution. I feel like I could have used it as another example of the sort of outside-the-box thinking we discuss in Lesson 2. Algorithmic puzzles have a history going all the way back to medieval times. Our next puzzle was first presented around the year 800 by the medieval scholar Alcuin of York. It's quite famous and not difficult to solve, but I couldn't bear to conclude my course in brain teasers and logic puzzles without presenting it. So here goes. You're standing on a riverbank with a wolf, a goat, and a cabbage. You have a rowboat that you can use to get to the other side of the river. However, the boat can only hold 2 things at a time. Moreover, if the wolf is left unattended with the goat, then the wolf will eat the goat. And if the goat is left unattended with the cabbage, then the goat will eat the cabbage. We'll assume that the wolf has no interest in the cabbage. How can you get everyone and everything safely to the other side? As always, put me on pause if you want to give this a try. Well, the first step seems clear enough. If we try rowing the wolf to the other side, then the goat will be alone with the cabbage and he'll dine accordingly. And if we start by rowing the cabbage to the other side, then the wolf will be alone with the goat, and that's it for the goat. So the first step must be to row the goat to the other side. From here, let me turn the solution over to Alcuin, since I love his sense of humor in presenting the solution. He writes, I would take the goat and leave the wolf and cabbage. Then I would return and take the wolf across. Having put the wolf on the other side, I would take the goat back over. Having left that behind, I would take the cabbage across. I would then row across again, and having picked up the goat, take it over once more. By this procedure, there would be some healthy rowing, but no lacerating catastrophe. It's not a terribly difficult puzzle, since at each step, you have only one or maybe two possible choices for what to do. But I like the small surprise of having to row the goat to the other side, only to bring him back where he started from shortly thereafter. I sure hope the poor goat doesn't get seasick. River crossing problems, like the one we just considered, are pretty much a genre to themselves. Here's one more for you to ponder. 25 soldiers need to cross a river. They see two young boys with a small rowboat. The boat can carry one or both of the boys, but a single soldier is all the boat can handle. What's the smallest number of crossings we need to get all of the soldiers to the other side while leaving the boat in possession of both boys at the end? Take a few moments now and see what you come up with. It turns out that 100 crossings are needed. We first send both boys to the other side. Then one rows back. Then a single soldier rows to the other side, and the first boy rows back. The effect of this is that everything is as it was at the start, except that one soldier is now on the other side. It took 4 crossings to get that soldier to the other side. So if we do this sequence 24 more times, then all of the soldiers will be on the other side, and the 2 boys will be where they started with the boat. That makes 100 crossings in all. Moving on, one of my favorite algorithmic puzzles is known as the Pirate's Gold puzzle. It requires a bit of setup, but it's worth it. Here we go. There are 5 pirates arranged in a hierarchy, meaning that there's a top pirate, a second in command, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. They have 100 gold pieces to divide among them. They decide on the following approach. The top pirate will decide on an allocation of the gold. He can come up with anything he wants. He could keep all the gold for himself, or he could give everyone 20 pieces, whatever. Once he decides on his allocation, all of the pirates vote on it, including the top pirate himself. If the vote is to accept the top pirate's proposal, then the gold is so divided, and that's the end of it. But if the top pirate loses the vote, then he's thrown overboard, and the process starts anew with the next pirate in line. And this repeats until a division is adopted. Now, we'll stipulate that if there's an even number of pirates, then a tie vote means that the division is adopted. We'll also stipulate that the only thing each pirate cares about is getting as much gold as he possibly can while killing as few of his superiors as possible. Given all of that, the problem is to determine the allocation the top pirate should use. If you like a good challenge, then have a stab at this one. So, how would you divide the gold? We need a way to attack this problem. I think the way in is to ask yourself what happens if only 2 pirates remain. Let's say the top 3 pirates have been thrown overboard, leaving only numbers 4 and 5. Well, in this case, Pirate 4 will just keep all of the gold for himself. Pirate 5 will vote against it, but Pirate 4 will vote in favor, and a tie vote means the plan is adopted. Okay, so now let's suppose only 3 pirates remain. Pirate 3 knows that Pirate 5 will get nothing if Pirate 3 is thrown overboard. So Pirate 3 only needs to offer Pirate 5 a single gold piece to get his vote. So Pirate 3 will keep 99 gold pieces for himself, he'll give nothing to Pirate 4, and 1 gold piece to Pirate 5. Pirate 4 will vote against this, of course. Pirate 3 will just as naturally vote for it. But Pirate 5 will also vote for it despite the unfairness. This way he gets 1 gold piece when otherwise he'd get nothing. You probably see where this is going. If 4 pirates remain, the second in command will have worked out the analysis up to this point. So he'll keep 99 gold pieces for himself, he'll give 1 gold piece to Pirate 4, and the other 2 will get 0. The second in command and Pirate 4 will both vote for it, Pirate 4 doing so through clenched teeth, no doubt, and that's sufficient for the division to be adopted. And now we can see clearly what the top pirate needs to do right at the start. He'll keep 98 gold pieces for himself, give 1 gold piece to Pirate 3, and give 1 gold piece to Pirate 5. Since Pirates 3 and 5 get nothing if the top pirate goes overboard, they'll both be forced to vote in favor. Their votes, together with the top pirate's own vote, will seal the deal. And there you go. It's been a recurring theme in this course that puzzles aren't just fun and recreational, but also develop habits of mind that are useful in all areas of life. And that's especially true of algorithmic thinking. Two of the most significant developments in modern life arose when people devised clever algorithms for carrying out seemingly impossible tasks. Some of you might remember the mid-1990s, when the internet was first being developed. People quickly saw its potential for disseminating information and for advertising services. But that potential could only be realized if the internet could be searched. The best website in the world doesn't do you any good if no one can find it. So the race was on to find an algorithm for searching the internet. But how is that to be done? The internet is massive. Currently, there are billions of websites, and their number grows daily. How can you quickly sift through the morass to find the few websites you care about? Well, it was researchers at Stanford University who solved the problem. They realized that the importance of a website could be measured by the number and the quality of the links coming into that site. Using mathematical techniques drawn from linear algebra and probability theory, they devised an algorithm that allowed them to rank websites in order of importance. Their algorithm underlies the most popular search engines used today. And that leads to the next great application of algorithmic thinking, e-commerce. After all, what fun is the internet if you can't buy things off of it? But there's a serious practical problem that must be overcome for e-commerce to become possible. If you type your credit card information into a website, hackers can get in and steal it. To avoid this, the site you're doing business with sends instructions to your computer on how to encrypt your credit card number. The trouble is that hackers can also steal the instructions. Then they can hack in, get your encoded credit card number, and run the instructions backward to get your actual number. So what's needed is a system where knowing how to encode data does not automatically allow you to decode it. That sounds impossible, but it really can be done. It was researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology who worked out a practical way of doing it. This time, they used mathematical techniques drawn from number theory to accomplish the task. The technical minutiae of these algorithms is fascinating, but it's well beyond what we can discuss here. What's important for us is the principle that algorithmic thinking is all around us, and some knack for it is useful in any walk of life. And with that, let's get back to the puzzles. Here's one I think is clever. Suppose that two people are playing a game. They start with 50 coins of randomly chosen denominations laid down in a straight line on a table. Both players can see the entire sequence of coins. They take turns removing coins from the table, but they're only allowed to take coins from the left end or the right end of the line of coins. The winner of the game is the one who ends up with the most money after all the coins have been removed. What strategy should the first player use to ensure that he does no worse than tie with the second player? Again, at first blush, it seems impossible, but the solution is surprisingly simple. See if you can figure it out. Here's the trick. Number the coins from 1 to 50 from left to right. Mentally separate the 25 coins with even numbers from the 25 coins with odd numbers. Then do some quick calculations to determine whether the even-numbered coins or the odd-numbered coins have the greater value. Let's suppose the odd-numbered sum is greater. Then the first player will play so as to take all the odd-numbered coins. He'll start from the end labeled 1, and then on every subsequent turn, will play from the same end the second player chose. Of course, if the even-numbered sum is greater, then the first player can play so as to take all the even-numbered coins by starting from the end labeled 50. If the two sums are the same, then the first player can take either all the evens or all the odds, and the game will end in a tie. One place where algorithmic problems arise in practical situations is in questions of fair division. There might be a scarce resource that must be divided among several worthy people or groups, for example, and some algorithm must be devised for doing so in a way that all would consider fair. We can see this sort of thing on a small scale in discussions of so-called cake-cutting algorithms. everyone learns at a young age the proper procedure for dividing a bit of cake among two hungry kids. One kid cuts the cake, and the other gets first choice of which piece he wants. Very simple. But what if you want to divide the cake among 3 people? What procedure can be devised to ensure that everyone believes they were treated fairly? This is not at all an easy puzzle, but the solution is very ingenious. We should also emphasize that we're not too worried about the practicalities of carrying out the algorithm. We're really just looking for fairness in principle. So go ahead now and try to find a procedure for dividing the cake fairly. Here we go. Let's say the 3 people are Alan, Brad, and Kara. First, we let Alan divide the cake into 3 pieces that he considers equal. Alan will then be happy with any of those 3 pieces. We then move on to Brad. He'll examine the 3 pieces carefully and will then pick his top 2. He'll actually rank those pieces as his top choice and as his second choice. And now he also does one more thing. He takes a knife to his top choice and trims off enough of it so that he now thinks his top choice is equal to his second choice. The trimming is put aside for a moment. At this point, Kara finally gets into the game. She chooses one of the 3 pieces. If Kara doesn't choose the trimmed piece, then we'll give the trimmed piece to Brad. If Kara does take the trimmed piece, then Brad will choose the piece he initially ranked second, and then Alan gets the remaining piece. Now, so far, everyone's happy. Kara's happy because she got first choice. Brad's happy because he got one of the 2 pieces he considered equally good, and both of which were better than the third piece. And Alan's happy because he got one of the original pieces, and he felt all 3 pieces were equal to begin with. But what do we do with the trimming? Well, this time, we let Kara divide the trimming into 3 pieces she regards as equal. Brad now gets first choice among the 3 pieces, and he chooses the one he thinks is best. Then Alan goes second, and Kara gets the third piece of trim. So Alan's happy because as far as he's concerned, the piece of trimming is a bonus. He thought his initial 3 pieces were a fair division, and now he's getting a little more than that. Brad's happy because he was happy with his big piece of cake and then got first choice among the trimmings. And Kara's happy because she thought the 3 pieces from the trimming were all equal. Win, win, win. It's interesting to ask at this point whether this general method can be extended to arbitrary numbers of people. For example, can we do something like this to divide a cake among 4 people, 5 people, 10 people? The answer turns out to be yes, with ever finer and finer divisions of more and more trimmings. But the number of cuts needed quickly becomes absurdly large. This is the final lesson for the course. Looking back over the ground we've covered, I hope you've enjoyed the many and varied puzzles we've discussed. A well-crafted puzzle or a clever brain teaser can be a lot of fun, and when you solve one, it can bring a smile to your face for the rest of the day. But I hope I persuaded you of something else as well. Puzzles and brain teasers aren't just for fun. The habits of mind they develop arise in 100 places in our regular lives. The same outside-the-box thinking that can solve a clever puzzle can also help a Galileo or Darwin or Einstein to solve scientific puzzles that had defeated more orthodox thinkers. Logic puzzles are fun and engaging, but they also help to bring light and clarity to difficult questions in mathematics and philosophy. Puzzles in probability or arithmetic can be wonderfully subtle, but reasoning about uncertainty and developing a feel for numbers is useful on an almost daily basis. And the same algorithmic thinking that solved today's puzzles underlies the most significant technological advances of our time. And with that, we've reached the end of our course. Thank you for watching.